to learn some Photoshop. Today I'm going to be showing you guys this cool paint effect where we make a normal picture looks like as if it was painted. Let's check it out. Alright y'all, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and open up our image in Photoshop. Now, this image out of the camera is huge. So we're going to go up to here and hit image size. And I want to make sure that pixels is clicked on this little drop down. And I want to make sure that this thing is no bigger than 2,000 pixels. So if this is checked, it will go ahead and adjust the other number. So 2,000 pixels, click OK. It got a lot smaller, but that's okay. This is only as big as we need it. So, and make it take up my screen like that. Cool. So now we're here. Now the next thing to do is I'm going to make a duplicate of this layer. So I'm just going to right click and hit duplicate layer. Click OK. I'm going to turn off this bottom one and I'm going to rename the copy image like so. So now we have two layers. We have our image and we have our other layer just like that. So we resampled the size of the layer. We're working good. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to create a blank layer and I'm going to call this one mask. So this is going to be our new layer. We're going to call this mask, just like that. So we got our two picture layers, turned off the bottom one, and we have our mask. Cool. So now that we got this, we can start cooking for what we need to do. So what I'm going to do now is you should have downloaded this pack called Tutorial Assets. In it, we have some brushes and some textures. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my brush tool. I'm going to go ahead and click this little cogwheel under where all my brush settings are up here. And then I'm going to hit import brushes. I'm going to go into my Tutorial Assets folder, open up the brushes folder, and then open up the Vintage Painting Action Brushes pack. Got this from Envato Elements. Shout out to them. Cool. So there's two brushes in here. The first one, I'm going to make it just big enough to cover some of the details in here. So I'll probably do about like 300. And I'm going to paint over the majority of the bulk of what my subject is, right? So I'm going to do these plants. So there's that one. Then I'm going to grab the other brush, and so brush one, and I'm going to paint over the edges and the other details. I'll have to go big. Size this down just a little bit. Like, so small. Like 200. There we go. So then now I'm going to brush around all this stuff. I'm just clicking and dragging here, nothing fancy. Doesn't have to be perfect, because you'll see why in a second. I'm just going to paint over these details like so, just like that. And then we're going to keep going. Like I said, if you have more details in your pictures, you can get as crazy with this as you want. But just make sure most of the bulk of your image is covered, like so. A little bit darker in there. Cool. Perfect. All right. So now that we have that, that is just what we need. We can always go back and adjust it later. But now I'm going to go here and I'm going to convert my image layer. I'm going to right click on it and hit convert to smart object. So now it's a smart object, just what we need. I'm going to drag this on top of my mask layer, right click and hit create clipping mask. So now we see that this pretty much masked out everything we needed, right? So now here we only see the parts we want to see. It's a little rough as you see parts are out, but that's all right. It's a painting. That's how paintings are. So that's perfectly okay, and that's just what we need it to do. So now we got to stylize it a little bit. Now we're going to start adding some filters where we make it really fun. So I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on my image layer. So my image layer selected. I go to filter, filter gallery, and I'm going to click on the one under artistic. So see how we have a bunch of drop downs. I'm going to click the one under artistic that says dry brush. I'm going to make my brush size 5, my brush detail 6, and my texture 1. So as you see here, it really changed the way the image looked, and now we have a lot of different detail under that. So now we're going to click OK. All right, so we're cooking a little bit there. So now we got a little bit of it, but we're going to add some more. All right, now while that looks cool and that's all fine and dandy, we're going to add another one called filter, filter gallery. So now we're going to go under the ones that say brush strokes, and we're going to choose the one that says crosshatch. So now this is going to add different lines in different ways. So my stroke length is going to be 9, sharpness 6, and my strength is 1. And now you can see that once I click OK, it added even more texture to that. We see, if we zoom in, some lines are going diagonally in both directions. So that's really fun. All right, so we got 2 down, a couple more to go. Now the next one we're gonna do is gonna be called Paint Daubs. So if we go to Filter, one more time, Filter Gallery, and then under Artistic, there's one that's called Paint Daubs. I want my brush size to be 2, my sharpness to be 1, and I'm gonna click OK. So now we got even more on that. And I believe now we have one last one. Let me go back up to Filter, Filter Gallery. The last one we're gonna do is under Brush Strokes. It's called Spatter. So now with Spatter, we're gonna have a spray radius of 5 and a smoothness of 5. So now it actually looks like we're like dabbing on the paint and adding some texture there. Perfect. All right, y'all. So as it is, we could turn this on and it looks pretty clean already. We could keep it like this, but if we actually want to make it look like it's on a canvas, we're gonna go and use the background textures we have. So I'm gonna go into File, Place Linked, and then I'm gonna go back into my tutorial asset folder, go under Textures. I'm gonna grab this one called Background Texture, and then I'm going to resize it to the proper size. I'm gonna rotate it actually as well. And then once I like the size, I'm gonna hit Enter on my keyboard. I'm gonna drag this down under the mask. Right, so there we go, we have that one. You could also mess around with the blending modes of this. You can change it to, multiply. You can change it to whatever you want to kind of get that background texture going. And then I'm also gonna add, again, so File, Place Linked, and then Watercolor Overlay Texture. And we're gonna size it up the way we want it. So I'm gonna rotate it, and then I'm gonna make it the size of this. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Multiply. So now we went from a simple picture like this to this. And it looks really great, y'all. Like I said, no need to be Bob Ross here when we have the power of Photoshop. So hopefully you guys got some use out of this, and make sure you check out some more tutorials I got. See ya.